There we go. All right, let's bring some stuff in. Hey, gang. How's everybody doing? Let's see. Rich, Wabbit, Andy, James, happy Sunday. Definitely. Hey, gang. Audrey, Matthew, hey. Appropriate time zone, appropriate greetings. Xerinx Corp, hey there. Rob, good to see you. Rob, I still haven't listened to your piece that you posted the other day. I will get around to that. Let's see. So, hey, gang. Today is real easy. I'm going to make a little noise. I've got this oct, sort of eight-way LFO that a couple of people, hey, Andy, were asking about. I'm just going to demonstrate it very briefly. I like it, but it's got a lot of limitations. Like everything, right? So, and then I was really going to make some noise. I was going to give an update on some of the musical projects that I was working on over the last 6 months. One big one was hiring a drummer to do some drum tracks, and he's done, and he's got back to me yet. But he hasn't answered me. I sent him, do you want, I paid him, and I asked him what kind of attribution he wants, and at first he was saying do it this way, and then he was do it this way. So I'm waiting for him to. I can't talk about it yet. I need to know how he wants me to give him attribution, right? Because he's got a stage name and he's got a working studio name, right? So it's like, I don't know, what'll it be? So, see where it goes. Hey, Dan. Let's see, Mr. Higgins. Cool. All right, so let's do this. Let's start real slow and simplify. All right. The modular changed some more. I'm not going to drag the camera over to do a bunch of show and tell, but I will demonstrate this oct. I'm going to simplify this pattern down. All right. Let's see. Stop for a second. Now I've got some noise here. So this system has no VCAs in it right now. It's just letting the filter go. And so I think I'm getting noise that's getting processed. And I think that's from this WASP filter because I don't have it closed completely. Could be wrong. Let's see, signal chain. Oh, it might be actually that the compressor's bringing up the noise floor. Yeah. No, that's noise coming in from the modular. So someone was talking in the Discord the other day, and he was saying, "I'm getting some hum from one of my mixer modules in the modular," and we were like, the noise floor on modular can be high, right? Or it could be like where which module is sitting next to which module, or what kind of power supply you have, or things like that. So VCAs are nice to close and kill that. But let's pull a cable and see. Yeah. So I think it's this WASP filter is a little on the noisy side. Let's bring it down all the way. Oh, got to refresh. Yeah, who knows? There's always at least two people that that YouTube like screws with, right? And they're like, I don't see any video or I don't hear any audio, and refreshing seems to help. Anyway, so let me turn this back on here. Actually, let's just open the filter. All right, so what I'm going to do is let this drone. It's kind of annoying. It's a super saw, and it's not very spread. And I'm going to connect the oct to it just to demonstrate what I like about the oct and what bugs me about it. Okay. So, hang on one second while I feed it. And we'll turn off the delay, so we're just hearing. All right, so we've got some plucks, some triggers that are coming in, and it's ticking it. But what we're hearing all right, so oct is an LFO. Okay, totally fine. It's got 8 outs, and they're all hand-tuned, whatever that means, hand-tuned at the factory. They're not related to each other mathematically, and so they go from high to low. And there's one big knob for setting the speed. So this is the slowest LFO at the noon rate, at the noon setting on the dial. And that's a speed that I like. I like modulating, whatever parameter I want to modulate at about this rate. Like I like a hertz, 1 hertz, maybe below. I like 1 hertz and below. I don't usually use the really fast ones, right? But the problem, it's not a problem. This is a design choice on the oct, is that there are 8 outs and they go from fast to slow. And when you dial in, that's the fastest that the slowest LFO will go. That's reasonable. And the slowest setting is like 25 minutes or something like that. It's really slow, which is great, My problem is on a reasonable sort of noon setting. All right, so there's some modulation going in. That's at a rate that I'm happy with on the slowest one. The upper ones are blender fast, which is cool and rhythmic. Here's the mid-range. So it's very situational, right? You can't re-trigger it, and you can't you can control the rate of the LFOs with voltage, but it affects all of them, right? Which is, again, a design choice, and it's cool, and I like it, and it's it's 8 LFOs in a very, very tight space. It's only 4 HP, right? And so I like that, but in order to do what I want to do with it, when I've got it set so that the lowest 4 LFOs are a reasonable slow rate, the upper 4 are not useful for me personally, right? I'm not saying they're not useful. They're just not useful for my scenario. So I end up only using like half of it ever. And so I find myself shopping for more LFOs, that's modular, fine. I do wish that I could individually address it, but then what's the point, right? I think the constraint in the design that they're hand tuned and not related, going from fast to slow, is that was their design goal. And they're like, you need to work within these constraints and you can do something interesting with it. And people are doing tons of interesting things with it. But there you go. For Andy and a few others who wanted to know, like, what's it like? It's sweet. It's nice. You just, you're going to need whatever you feed it in needs to have attenuators on it or put something in between. If you want to do offsets and things like that, you got to put something in between it, which is common in lots of basic LFOs. This has 8 very basic LFOs timed in a cascading from fast to slow. And it's, that's where it's at. Oh, that's grating on my ears. So let's see. We'll leave just a little. Let's see. Rolling back. Let's see. Pork casserole. I'm there. Let's see. I think that's it. Strange My Wasp is buzz free. I don't know where it is, Andy. I'm not sure. It may not be the wasp, but it's coming off of that signal chain. So who knows? I also have a aggressive compressor sitting on that channel too, and it's bringing up the noise floor. So that might just be me. So let's see. Hey, Slim Pickens. Can you return them with precision pots on the back? Can you retune them with precision pots on the back, David? No. In fact, that came up actually today. It was like, it would be nice if there was individual little pots on the back to tune the rate of each one. But then, like, that sort of breaks its whole design aesthetic. Like, they were like, you don't have this control. You have global control over all of their speed globally. But like, if you're going to put pots on the back, you might as well put potentiometers on the front and just make it an 8-way LFO, right? So whatever. So anyway, that's enough of that noise. So I just wanted to demonstrate that. All right. Where was I? Okay. Let's bring some of the others in. All right, let's make a little noise. My sustain pedal. There we go. let's go through. Oh, actually, what do we have today? So see, these are some of the sounds we got. We got the modular going. The modular is my pluck machine now. So if we bring these down, so we've got 3 oscillators in voice A. Give it a little bit more space to play with. And let me set a few more triggers here. All right. So we've got 3 oscillators per voice. This is our first oscillator. What is this? It's one of the internal wavetables. One of the things that I've been learning is how to make use of the Metropolis's internal modulation lanes. There are 8 mod lanes, which can feed CV out to various things. So like this sync oscillator is having its synced oscillator's pitch moved by the Metropolix, basically just on a ramp over the course of the 8 stages. Right, and then we've also got this vert interlegio, which has a 3-way chorus in it that's really beautiful, but it sounds great even without, so like no chorus. It makes a great bass oscillator. But its chorus has 2 settings, a mild and a strong. Mild. I like that one. Normally I'm kind of picky about chorus. Usually they're either too fast and deep. They're either too fast, they're the right depth but they're too fast, or they're way too deep, regardless of how fast they're going, and it bugs me. This one I like. And then this is the strong. You bring it up an octave. So strong, mild, and out. Basically, I just blend these together. And so that's voice A. And voice B is just 2 oscillators right now. I was using a disting, but my disting was faulty. I had some problems with it. Either that or the voltage source I was using to calibrate it isn't accurate enough, which is probably more likely. But so I'm sorry, disting lovers. I pulled the disting. I may put it back in, but we'll see. So I'm just using a fold oscillator over here. Actually, let me give this a little bit more animation in its pattern. Sorry, the fold, which we were listening to, and then this super saw, which we were oscillating earlier. So relatively simple patterns. We just layer them. And then drop bits over it. Put a quick little bass pattern down here to drone. Fix my own bad timing. The sounds are coming from the Summit and the Iridium today, and a couple instances of Omnisphere. Hey, Maltus. Sudanva, hey. What am I missing here? Dr. Cynthia. I'm just letting stuff ring today. Oh, another edition. I put a kick and a hat in the Mazur. So, for people who are like, drop the beat, you know, drop the beat, DJ Sleeper. There you go. It's the best I can do. Let's see. We're catching up here. What is the device sitting to the right of the Push 3? That is a Waldorf Iridium. And it is currently not playing anything. I've got a drone here. Let's see. A pad. High pad, the high string pad. this is the year I'm finally going to dig into it and learn to actually program it. So I'm just pulling presets off it right now. I've had it for over a year. And I learned like how to manipulate the virtual analog stuff inside it, but there's 4 other synthesis methods, and I'm like haven't even scratched the surface. So I made a commitment to put it on the table and start using it. So that's what's going on. I should probably read beyond when people ask questions because people are already answering them. Just wasted some time. Sorry. Hey, Moriel. Hard to pronounce, man. Hey, I sing the Body Electric. Nice. Let's change up the bass line. Bass melody. Xerox Corp. Thanks. I have a collection that I curate, and I try and have certain synths from certain families, and I've been collecting for a long time. So thanks. It just, slowly. I have gaps. I don't have anything from Dave Smith or Sequential yet. So we'll see. There's a whole thing about like keeping your cables organized to lengths in the tree. That only lasted about a week for me. So they're all in the tree, but they're not very organized. So I did find that the 90-degree cables are useful for some things and a pain in the butt for other things. Because like if you've got a really dense jack area like this dual ADSR has 8 jacks like packed together really, really tight. And if you're using the right angle cables, the arm that shoots out inevitably covers the jack you need to use next to it or above it, or so sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not great. So hey, Animotion Music. All right, let's change up some of these. Improvise while reading chat is tough. Tough for me anyway. Space Capsule, welcome. There's a video on the bass sound. If you want to reproduce it, you can watch that video. You know, in this day of like crazy synthesis, sometimes a sine is just appropriate. Change up the modular a bit. Let's do this. Let's bring the bass down for a minute. And we'll bring the rhythm out for a second. All right, so let's play with these patterns. Let's change the pitches up too. All right, so change our pattern to be linear. So we're going to go through all the stages. All right, now that we've got those set, and you can't see this, but this is the pattern that's playing, the pattern of triggers, gates. Let's go classic Berlin school here. And we'll add a couple of ratchets. This particular oscillator ignores the trigger, so I'm not going to hear any ratchets here, so that's fine. Let's bring this rhythm back in. sub in. And add a couple accents. Bring the bass back in, the Rick bass. See if it works. It's pretty good because I really didn't do any like chord changes. I played a melody, but I didn't really push the center away from the root. Bring in the first voice. Those two are playing. Let's simplify the bass line then. Yeah, it's like, it's literally something running off the clock, right? Off a clock divider, like a kick and a little hat dialed in. They're the Platts, actually, that I was frustrated with because they wouldn't stay in tune. I'm just like, fuck it. Oh, sorry. Family friendly. Screw it. Less family friendly, maybe. I'll just use them for their rhythm parts, right? Because they have great little drum synths in them, right? I shouldn't say little. They have great drum synths in them. So, braided cables. I have like one braided cable, and I threw it out this weekend. Not because I don't like them. I do like them, but I haven't found braided cables that are thin. They're always thick and chunky, which might be great, but in this mess, I'm starting to like thin, very thin, flexible cables a little bit more. So, let's see. The Erica synths are not that thick. They've been really easy. All right. I'll have to try them. So, I like cables. What is it? We were talking and said like for every $1 you spend on oscillators, you got to spend like $3 on support modules or more modular modules for it. And then for every $1 you spend on oscillators, you're probably going to spend 50 cents on cabling. At least initially, until you have a certain critical mass of cables, right? Like this audio interface was like $900. But the cables for connecting it were $300. So like, okay. So that was years ago. So maybe there's cheaper cables now, but silly, I know. I like braided instrument cables. Like, so the synth cables they're all braided because they're easier to detangle. I try and keep them. I've got a rack on the back of the door with the cables hanging cleanly, so they don't really get that tangled. But like when I play out and everything goes in a little canvas gig bag at the end of the gig, because it's usually like an imam or a open mic of some kind or a group thing where everybody gets a certain amount of time, you have to get the heck off the stage and move your gear, because like it's usually tiered. Like there'll be 3 areas and someone's performing and someone's setting up. And so when you're done playing, you have to tear down really fast so the next person can set up in that space. And that inevitably leads to cable tangles, because it's sort of like grab, yank, wad, throw in, and then you get home and the bag sits in the studio on the floor for a couple days, ripening. I swear, cables left in a bag, if not coiled correctly, will mate like snakes and get into a tight ball just by themselves. I don't know, maybe coming in from the cold, causes them to shrink or something. But that bag in the corner from the last time I played out is like, there's a nest of cables in there. I gotta go detangle. I haven't played with stackables ever. I have a terrible fear of like, the further out from the jack you come, the more likely I'll drop something on it, and the extended length, the leverage will break the jack. That's probably an irrational fear, but that's my fear. That's why I don't use stackables. You notice how awesomely neat the cables are? I don't know. It depends. I'm experimenting with coiling them. So I was doing this anyway, and then Andy did it on Saturday. He pointed out he saw someone else's advice to say like braid the cables, and it kind of works. I do run clock and any permanently connected modulation behind the modules. So like these clock signals go in this gap and run along the backside, and like 2 of them pop out here for this metropolis, 2 of them pop out here for this steppy, and 2 of them pop out over here for the other metropolis. So they're actually running in the back, but the case is 10 inches deep, so I can get away with that. If it was a skiff, I wouldn't do that. So over the course of the stream, I record the bits I play as patterns. So like while I'm trying to catch up in the chat, I'll just reach over and revert to previous patterns. Let's see. I'm almost caught up. Yeah, stackables, Andy. Yeah, I live in fear of stackables. It's just like they're gonna break something, or I'm gonna break them. I learned my lesson last week, right? I used a mult cable, and I tried to use it as a mixer, and it worked. But apparently, from an EE perspective, that's bad, and it shouldn't work. So I just got lucky. So the comments on last week's stream clarify that, but that's okay. All right, so where are we? So let's do this. Let's bring this out. Let's start bringing stuff down. What time is it? 2:48? All right, we got time. Well, let's be droney. All right. Let's drone a bit. I hadn't prepared a drone or anything like that. I'm not set up for it, so hang on a second. All right, you calm down. All right, no triggers. Open the filter a little bit. So I've got pitch and gate separated. Like other people do this, Andy does this, a few others. I have some videos on it from like 3 years ago using two Mother 32s. And I use one Mother 32 to sequence pitches and the other one to sequence gates. It's a very modular thing, and it's fun. So these are the pitches being sequenced by the Metropolix. But I want to slow this way down. Actually, I want to just make it only one. Ooh, that's annoying. Hang on. Let's make it this bass synth. Bring you down. All right, so we've got this math/abacus over here is cycling the filter ever so slightly. Let's slow it down. You stop running. We'll bring in one of these others over here. Turn off their pattern. No triggers. And here's where we can use the oct. So let's run a little oct LFO into this super saw here. filter with the oct as well. Oh, I'm going to need another cable. So this is something I like about the oct. This is kind of the point, is that there are 8 LFOs that are not rhythmically related to each other. So you're going to get them out of phase with each other. So I'm going to use 2 LFOs that are side by side. Here, let's bring this one down for a second. Okay, so this is just this supersaw over here. And let's bring the attenuation down a bit. Here, for demonstration, I'll use one of the fast ones. So the fast LFO's playing with the supersaw spread, and then the slow ones running the filter open and closed. Let's slow that. We'll use one of the slower ones. Bring this back in this other drone, this vert iter. Now, something I'm struggling with learning, right, because I'm not a mixing master, is that I've got all these voices running into each other, and their relative levels change a lot. So I'm playing with learning how to apply compression to sort of smooth everything out. I understand conceptually, like theoretically, how it's working, but in practice there's an art to it that I just don't have yet. Maybe over time we'll see what happens. Because like if I play the bass here, that is working. Like I've got the bass itself is compressed to be kind of leveled out. As the bass rings out and its level drops, I've got a makeup gain on the compressor bringing the bass up to try and hold it. And then when it gets combined with the other voices, they're not dropping too bad, but they're still maintaining their level there. It's not spiking in my ear. And then I've got a sub under the bass too. Let's make the delay a little wetter, and we'll have it run a little bit longer. And let's have it do quarter notes. Any advice you guys can have, send me. If you drop a comment on any of the videos that has a link in it, it'll flag it for me. It won't show it. It'll flag it for me to try and cut down on spam. But if you've got videos or, reference to how to use compression effectively that you like, if you search for that on YouTube or the internet, there's only like 1,000 people shouting as loud as they can saying, this is how you do it. And my experience has been most of them are morons. So if you have a good one that you feel you've been successful with, post it in a comment. It'll show up as flagged for me, and I'll just okay it so it'll appear in the comments, so you won't be gagged. But I'll have it. It's useful. Now let's see. What am I missing here? Try and play while I read. Lower. Audrey. Okay. Fine. I think I can go a little bit lower, Audrey. Hold on. Here we go. It may be too low. It may just turn into clicks. It's almost just clicking. It's like a helicopter coming in. Sorry. Best I could do for now. All right. Like I said earlier about signs, like sometimes a sign lead is just this is also true of a bare sawtooth with a slow envelope opening the filter, so you get that brassy moi. Not everything has to be sweeping wavetables. He says as the super saw sweeps in the background. Yeah, I know. It's a balancing act. I'm almost caught up here. Let's see. Rob, your house is shaking. Great. When I first started playing bass in junior high school, the first real bass amp I got was a used PV 250 watt head and a cab with two 18s in it, and it was on wheels with like handles on the side. I could barely lug it, right, because I didn't drive, so I had to rely on my father to help me drive it around. But he helped me buy it. But I had played a 5-string bass with a low B, so that low B through two 18s, it was serious pant flap, as they say. I am. It's not a sad thing, Rich, that you had the Summit and it didn't work with you. So when I pull the Summit out, I'm not teasing you, okay? Not every synth is, everyone doesn't move everybody. That's fine. Yeah, get to the choppa. That's right. And we had a Schwarzenegger moment there with the really low bass. Do you have a fixed EQ on the drone or just a low pass filter? The only thing, there's no EQ in there. and in Ableton, and it's just low pass filter. So this drone is coming out of the Vert Interlegio, the low part, and it's going through an IntelliGel Micro VCF, which is, I want to say it's an Oberheim style. I don't think it's 24 decibels per octave. I think it's 12. Here, let's do this. Let's isolate it for a second. So here's the Vert. It's going through this Micro VCF. Let me turn it up a little bit more. I'm going to open the filter, so hang on. That's fully open. And there's the Q is at like 30%. Let me turn it to 50%. Here's 50% resonance. I can't believe I'm doing a filter sweep demo. Here we go. All right, that's 50% Q on this Micro VCF from IntelliGel. Here is 60%-ish. You hear the side, the harmonic series there. You don't hear it in the top end, but you hear it in the low end, on the low part of the sweep here. All right, we turn it up a little bit more. Let's see if we can get the harmonic series to come in the resonance. It's real. This is an Oberheim style filter. It's the way I picture it, the way I hear it, because it sounds liquid. I like it. And it's a dirt cheap filter. I don't even think they make it anymore. You can find them used, right? And here it is. And it oscillates. Sorry, Rich. That put nails in my ears too. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's a great filter. I really like it. It's like nothing fancy, but it's got two frequency modulation inputs, and both of them have attenuators, and so it's a super useful little VCF. And it's got low pass, band pass, and high pass outs, so it's kind of nice. Let's see what else. Catching up on the chat here. Thanks, Tracy. Filter sweeps for the win. Who doesn't love a filter sweep? Apparently the YouTube algorithm or some copyright thing was like flagging people a year ago who did a filter sweep. I don't know. Yeah, Mark, so a high pass with resonance also adds low end. Yeah, so if you pitch it down, that's like a classic MS-20 bass patch technique, because it's got the high pass and low pass. You turn the resonance and the high pass up, and then you bring it down and tune it to your root note for whatever you're playing, and it's like woomph on the low end from the resonance from the high pass, and then you use the low pass with resonance to get you whatever sound, the screamy sound you want. Which filter is... sorry, Tracy, I don't know if that was a question for one of the other commenters or for me. You're asking about a filter. So there's only 2 filters in this whole modular. There is an IntelliGel micro VCF, and there is a Doepfer Wasp filter, which is the A124. And if you weren't asking me, all good. There was some talk, and someone cited like some internet web page, which is always reputable, but sometimes has useful stuff, that the Wasp filters die, some chip in them burns out or something, and it's completely anecdotal. I haven't experienced it, I don't know, but I did go price out the chip, and it's socketed, so it's easy to pop in and out, and you can get replacement chips for the Wasp filter, the ones that allegedly burn out. They're about 12 cents each in lots of 25, so you can get a tube of 25 of them for like $6 or $4. You're jamming along, Kleptophonics? Yeah, E minor on a CS80. It's totally fine. There's not E minor. Step out of E minor for a second. Let's play a bass melody. Delay. I know. Too much delay. No such thing. Yeah. Too much delay on the bass. Hold on a second. There we go. Let's put a little bass groove down just for fun. Whoops. I accidentally triggered the clip I was playing. Hold on a second. All right. just layer some pads here. If I've been in, no need to apologize. Concentrating, I get a scowl on my face sometimes. I get that music zone concentration face, and I find my lips going. Okay. Add this to the drone. Oh, I thought I was recording and I wasn't. Oh no, I was. Okay. What I don't have prepared is a cool, like, Wakeman-esque Emerson, organ lead to be doing that. I wasn't thinking. Didn't prepare that. Let's see. This could suck. There we go. All right, this might be terrible. Let's see what happens. let's try and dial in a patch and try and remember what I named that patch, but I don't remember what was in it. Tracy, go ahead. Let's see. There's too much delay when your set ends before the delay repeats any sound. That is a long delay. Very true. All right, let's see. YouTube compression. There's a lot to be found. Curation of the interesting good ones is a problem. Yeah, I agree, Audrey. Enzo patch.init. Is that an address to go to, or is that calling the init method on the patch object? So, hey, Jeff. See, I do FX in the box. I do, except for the chorus on this Vert Interlegio. That one's coming out of the modular. Let's see. Do you also use return tracks for effects, or are they on each track as part of the sound? I don't use returns. I should, but I don't. I actually process everything serial inline, insert effects basically. Only because I have the laptop, so I'm just processing external audio. So it's not like I have a bunch of VST synths chewing up the CPU. So I've got a lot of extra CPU laying around. And I also like to stack reverbs. So I will stack a room reverb on top of a hall reverb on top of a black hole reverb, and then dial in their individual wet dries and their reverb times. Because I like to use the room reverb to push things forward and backwards on the soundstage, and then I like to use the hall reverb to give it, put it on to change the size of the soundstage itself, right? And then I use the black hole reverb for shimmer and or like deep space stuff. And I don't always use all of them, but I have those just set up as a preset rack that I drop in on many of the things I'm using. And I just do them all inline. So yeah, which might be sacrilege, but it's not chewing up my CPU, so get away with it. Yeah, I have 0 inserts right now. So not the greatest advice. Okay. But most of the sound is coming in from external synths, so it's not like the CPU is... My CPU is sitting at 12%. Although this is an M1 Mac, so when I start Ableton, it just, with one track in it, it's at 12%. And then as I keep adding tracks, it just stays between 12 and 18%. I haven't pegged the CPU on this yet. And this machine is 3 years old. It's an original M1. So it works fine. I don't know. We'll see. I don't, like I said, I use a lot of hardware, so there's a few VSTs in here, and I mostly use Omnisphere when I do reach for a VST, or Arturia, and the Arturia stuff can be a little heavy. Omnisphere is super lightweight, unless you're stacking its internal effects, which I generally don't. So I like Ableton stock effects for most things. Valhalla Black Hole is one I use a lot that isn't stock Ableton. But Ableton's, its algorithmic reverb, its hybrid reverb is really, really good. You just got to read the manual. I can reproduce just about every reverb that I want in the mix. Like a solo instrument going through a fancy reverb, expensive reverb, sounds great. But in the schmear that is all of this, I don't need an expensive reverb. I just need a lot of surgically placed cheap reverbs that are doing a little bit, and it works for me. Again, I'm not a mixing guy, so my advice is suspect. So I would say explore, try it, and if it works for you, great. So, hey Martin. Let's go back. I'm going to change the pattern around a little bit. Let's see. On top of means downstream. Yeah. Right. So if you don't use Ableton, there's a bin at the bottom that is basically audio comes in the channels and then goes through this trough at the bottom. And from left to right, any devices you stick in there is basically a pipeline, right? And so when I say I stack reverbs, I go reverb 1, 2, 3. But I use the Ableton's effects rack, which is a tool for grouping things together. And you can group them serially or in parallel. You can do both. And you can nest it, so it's pretty flexible. But when I say stack, I mean 1, 2, 3 in a row. So room for ambience on the sounds. Room for distance away from the listener, followed by a hall reverb for ambience on the soundstage. How big is the soundstage? And then a black hole for let's get spacey. And I put delays in front of that generally. Okay. So. Time to upgrade to an M3. Eric Carr. Oh my God. Hey, buddy. That is a man from my past, if it's the Eric Carr I'm thinking of, unless we just have a name collision. Is that Eric Carr, who was the owner of Princess? Let me know. So, let's see. Yeah, the M3, I could upgrade to an M3, but for what I paid for this laptop, I'm going to be using it for at least 7 years before I can buy the next one. So, oh my God, Eric Carr. So everyone, Eric Carr is a dear friend of mine from back when I was a young idiot. So he has all the dirt and all the stories. So you can ask him. All of the mistakes I made were in front of him. So let's see. What else? Proof is in the pudding. That is true. That is very true, Kleptophonics. Martin says he's currently getting lost in Ableton Live sets, putting together MIDI stuff, and the e-guitar is pretty hard. Okay. Not to mention the delays from effects. Do you mean like latency, Martin? Are you having latency problems? So, Eric, you just paid off your M2. Nice. Yeah, I maxed out a MacBook Pro 2 years ago. It was my Christmas gift to myself, like Christmas bonus kind of money. And I'm like, okay, at this rate, for the dollars spent, I need to make this thing work for 6 more years. So we'll see where it goes. As far as latency is concerned, so I did a video on latency. I think I am just blessed in that I'm using a push. The push is sending MIDI into Ableton, which is going out through, in this case, I'm using the push's MIDI interface, but I also use a Motu MIDI Express 128, which I'm not using right now. I'm just using Ableton's. And that goes out to hardware, and then the hardware audio comes back in. And it comes in through these Motu interfaces that are all set so that my latency is really low. My round trip is like 8 milliseconds, 8 to 12. Actually, let me just look. My round trip latency right now is 6 milliseconds, dead on, 6.00. Running at 48 kilohertz with 128 sample buffer. It's 3 milliseconds in, 3 milliseconds out. And I attribute that to the Motu gear. The latency on this stuff, at least on Apple computers, is really low. I have friends who I have loaned these interfaces to who have PCs, Windows PCs, and the drivers apparently suck and they are terrible. But on a Mac, Motu gear works great. And if you're having problems with it, drop me a note. I'll walk you through it. So let's see. Yeah. Eric says, "Mwahaha, he has stories." Yeah, he does. It's mutual. There's a mutually assured destruction there. But do you think the Push 3 is a good upgrade from the Push 2? Depends on what you want to do and emotion. The Push 3 standalone mode is very, very limited and is quite disappointing for a lot of people because they really thought it was going to be Ableton in a box. And it's like, I could just walk around and do all my Ableton stuff. You can't. It's getting better. Like, I had a Push 2 since it came out. I had a Push 1 for like a week, and the Push 2 came out, and they offered this deal to trade up. And you donated your Push 1 or they donated it to schools or something like that. And so I used the Push 2 through its entire life, and they're dedicated to making sure that the hardware lasts a really long time. Even now, features that are on the Push 3 are being backported to the Push 2. So I'm pretty sure this colorful clip view works on the Push 2 now, at least in the Live 12 beta. I've seen some screenshots of it. Whether that actually sees the light of day, we'll see. But should you upgrade to a Push 3? If you're just using a Push 2 for a controller, maybe not. You have to really want MPE, because the MPE surface is really nice. It's not as nice as like an Osmos, but it's as good as a Linstrument. If you've ever played an Linstrument, it's actually nicer than a Linstrument because the pads are larger, so you've got more throw for MPE control. The additional slightly larger screen and additional things on it is nice, but as a controller, $1,000 for a Push 3 as a controller only Push 3 is, let's like buying a Cadillac. If you like Cadillacs, you're buying a luxury control surface for Ableton. I don't think there's a need to have a 3 if you've got a 2. And as far as standalone is gone, I don't use it in standalone mode. It has too many problems. I've got problems with it doing network writes back and forth. It heats up. That Intel and you see the Intel NUC processor in it gets freaking hot, like old school MacBook Pro hot. Like when you put it on your lap, you're like putting your nethers inside a panini, because there's a huge heat sink on the bottom of it. I'm hoping that it gets better, and it is getting better, but I'm not using it in standalone mode. I'm using it as a controller. So if you've got a Push 2, upgrade to Push 3 if you really, really want the MPE stuff, which is pretty sweet. And really that's it. So I don't know. I don't, yes, maybe. Like, we're in the synthesis zone, right? So all of us are people who have either careers and enough liquid income to be able to buy our toys. So a Push 3 controller, not too expensive. It's expensive, but it's not crazy expensive. It's not Ferrari expensive. But if you're a student or a starving artist and you've got a Push 2, stay with the Push 2. I would not upgrade to a 3 unless you're doing something that is absolutely dependent on MPE. So that's probably a long-winded, way more detail than you wanted to know. So, hey, John L. Rice. Hey, I'm just going through chat while this stuff is droning in the background. So, let's see. Animotion, you don't want standalone. So it's a real tough call. You're going to have to decide. Borrow one from someone if you can, right? But I mean, they're built really well. Build quality is super good. You can disassemble them. although I've only had to do that so of the 8 years that I owned a Push 2, and I actually owned 3 Push 2s over those 8 years. And I don't mean I owned 3 meaning one broke and I bought another one, and then that one broke and I bought another one. I owned 3 Push 2s because I bought one and loved it, and then I was like, I'm playing out a lot and I don't want to beat it up, so I had one for the studio and one for playing out. And then I had a third one that I loaned to friends periodically. That was like a loaner one. And I had a friend whose house unfortunately flooded in the middle of winter. So it like flooded with 2 feet of water and then froze. And he lost all his gear and he lost his Push. So that third Push 2 is on sort of semi-permanent loan to a friend of mine. But the other 2 I sold when I got the 3. But Push 2 is perfectly acceptable. I'd stay with it if you've got one. Let's see. I'm happy with my Push 1. Yeah, I see the Push 1 in your streams, Kleptophonics. And I mean, it's totally serviceable, right? The pads feel a little bit different. $150 for a Push 1 is probably very affordable. I think they were $600 new. They're really old. Make sure you play it, right? Because the pads are different. The Push 1, 2, and 3 pads are all completely different. Push 1 pads feel like MPC pads. In fact, I think it was made by Akai for Ableton. I may be misremembering that, but I'm pretty sure the Push 1 was made by Akai. And then Push 2 was all Ableton internal, and it had much smaller pads, smaller from a height perspective. And then Push 3 is they're even smaller, even lower again, and they support MPE. So, John L. Rice, have fun. Thanks for hanging out. Universal Vibe. When you popped in, I didn't say hello. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I've been going for an hour and a half. I think we should probably wind it down. I'm gonna make a little bit more noise. Let's do this. Let's kill Artist Transient. So I have all these patterns. Gone. Right? I do that just to drive people crazy. Some people are like, why did you delete that pattern? Save it, turn it into a track. I'm like, nah. All right, and so we're droning here. Let's turn our patterns back on. Do I remember how to set this up? Let's see. There's my pitch. Let's see. Where was my... there it is. I'm like, where's my my envelope modulation they're coming from? There we go. Okay. Let's put a pattern on here. All right. All right. That's triggering. That's triggering. This is triggering. We should be hearing something. Helps if you turn the volume up on the... There's that. There's that. Output going there. Huh. I busted it. Let's see. That's CV to the filter. There we go. And is it CV to the filter? It is CV to the filter. Resonance is down, levels up, and it's playing. Oh, helps if you turn it up on the mixer. Duh. Derp. All right, and for those of you who are late, I added rhythm. Not fancy rhythm, but heartbeat. Heartbeat in a hat. we go. There we go. Put a little bass pattern down. that'll do for now. So I ran a good deal longer than I intended to. So thanks for hanging out, everyone. Let's see. Just cleaning up a last bit here. Let that run in the background. All right, everybody's had to run. I had to run too. I got to take my wife out to dinner tonight. I don't know where we're going to go. I think, I don't know. We'll see. You avert your eyes from the push. Not because it isn't very attractive. I understand. Push gas. Let's see. Why isn't there any sound? The beauty of modular. Yeah. What did I do? Anyway, that is about it. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate it. Let's see what's going on here. I got my low end. You learned a lot. Okay. I'm glad, Audrey. Pronunciation. It's a hard thing. Have a great week, everyone. I will be back again next Sunday. I appreciate all the time you spend with me. I'm working on some like regular Synth Seeker videos and things like that. I got the drums back from the drummer, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going through there. As I said at the beginning, I'm trying to figure out, get from him how he wants me to give him attribution for this. He's got a stage name and he's got his real name, and it was like, what do you want me to do here? I got to give you credit for the drum parts. It's a prog piece, and if you go back to last year music making diaries, you can hear pieces of it, but I'm working on that. That should be done relatively soon. Done's relative. So when you incorporate something new, like an entirely new rhythm track, you may go back and revisit old things and change it, right? So we'll see how it goes. I'm glad you guys had a good time, and as always, thanks for hanging with me here on Synth Seeker. I will talk to you later. All right, see ya.